Hi, good evening, and welcome to a Barmy Army podcast number 58. Tonight, I'm joined by Fiona and Anthony. Good evening, both. You both okay?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Good. I always like it. Anthony comes on, he's really good, and Fiona's just smiling away. I always like that. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Bristol game on Sunday coming, the penultimate game in the WSL season. And we'll be looking back against the game against Spurs on Sunday. But I want to talk about the social media boycott that's happening this weekend. Fiona, I'm going to start with you on this one. You are a committee member. You are the vice treasurer of the BA. On Saturday night, we all kind of spoke very briefly about it, and it was kind of a no-brainer decision. Do you obviously agree? You obviously agree with it, but do you think there's something about the timing about it that's a bit wrong?
It seems a bit weird that it's come out after the anger about the European Super League. Maybe that because there's been a bit of anger about why can fans not do the same or that kind of thing around racism, which I suppose is part of the discrimination that the boycott is about. I still think it's a very important time of the season. I think, isn't it the last game of the season for the championship for the women? So, there are important games that there won't be any social media coverage around. And I think that sends a strong message. I think in the women's game, at least, it sends a very strong message. I wonder if that will be the same in the men's game, because obviously the men's game is a lot bigger, and if it's just a random weekend in the league, it might not have the same impact. But I think something had to be done, because LJ's had it on Instagram again recently. It's a recurring problem for many United players and many football players. So
yeah. Before I come on to Anthony, good evening, Debs, Karen, John Fry, Sang, John Neville, and Ian. Deborah's put into the comments the cricket community have joined in the boycott as well, so that's good to hear. Anthony, we joke and we laugh. We all go to games and we have a bit of a laugh. And you were at the games. You rightly so. You let your emotions take you away in the game. But once you come out of the game, it's done with you. That's it. You talk it out and you've stopped. Will this boycott, in your opinion, help what's going on in the world of football?
The short answer, no. I think there has to be a lot more done. It's like I had a discussion with a few people the other day on another certain thing, and it's with the social media, isn't it? Unless social media sites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, are put wrong. Like if they have to put things into practice, like verification and all that. But as it stands at the moment, you can quite easily you quite clearly see on Twitter all the racist remarks and even the discrimination about stuff. It's like filtering certain stuff, which they've got all this technology, they must be able to do it. So unless the social media companies are told they have to do something about it and it's legal practice, I don't think it will fully stop it.
I think just going to go through a few comments. John Fry, he says, I think it's a start, but not enough being done by the social media companies, which is what Anthony said. Sang has said those numbskull trolls will never go away, no matter what action we take. I think the boycott will do more harm than good. Sang, I'd like to know why you think it's going to do more harm than good, if you could put your comment in. John just says it's not going to go away. Deborah says the boycott shows all that is wrong with social media. People hide behind keyboards and behave appallingly. It won't have any impact, sadly. what got me about the LJ thing on Monday, she's not playing for us right now. I just didn't get it. We, as the BA, we put a statement out on Monday that we will be joining in on the boycott. So from Friday at 3:00 until midnight Monday night, we will be not posting anything. So Ian, you can have the weekend off, no live match updates, which is the first time we've done that since December 2018, since we first started the Twitter account. Fiona, when we look at what's going on in the social media world, and as Anthony said, do you think we as users, because we've all got our own accounts, do you think we need to be verified that we are who we say we are? Would that help?
I think it would make people more accountable for what they post. If you know that's been posted on social media with your name on it, and say it gets reported to the police or your employer or whatever, it can be verified that it's you. I think there'll always be issues with that. So, like, how do you verify it? I know things like in America, you don't want to send your driving license or your social security number or that kind of thing to social media companies. That's quite a big thing there. Would we have that same problem here? It's a difficult one. Something needs to be done. The tech companies need to use their tech for good to stop this behaviour. Yes, people need to take responsibility for their own behaviour, but we need to make it so that I think, not make it so easy for people to get away with this kind of thing. I don't think tech companies will never be able to stop it. But they need to take some ownership of their part to play. Being able to post lots of monkey emojis and that's it on a football player's post, that doesn't look reasonable in any situation. And so there are definitely things that they could do to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going to go through a few comments. Evening, Tashi. Deborah said social media companies could do more, but we are ignoring people who also need to behave. They're at fault mainly. Karen says 100% agree with Sang on trolls never going to go away. They could get blocked, but they just make a new account and start over again. Until it, and this is the point that you made, Fiona, until it affects the social media companies financially, they won't do anything, sadly. Sang then answers my point. He feels the boycott will make positive events dark, and after the boycott, the trolls will be back again. I feel many normal users will suffer through a few trolls. Agree. Deborah then says social media has got worse during the pandemic. A lot of people need to get out more and live, meet real people, and have proper relationships, not behind screens. And Karen says, I don't understand what these people get out of putting these remarks they put toward people. LJ was just hanging out with her sister. No need for racism. Completely and utterly agree. And this is one of the things that, as much as we joke, Anthony, when you go into a game, you wear your heart on your sleeve. You live that game, and you get angry, mainly at the referees. And yeah, you do. And you say some things, but it's in the heat of the moment of the game. But you never go out after the game and start having a vitriol of saying rubbish stuff. After the game, it's done. You move on to the next game. And I admire that about you, that you can go into a game and bang, you're up full flow on and you straight into the game. And then after the game, it's back to normal.
And let's make it clear as well, when I am having a go at a ref, it isn't discrimination stuff. I don't go, oh, you should get back in your kitchen or something, or nothing like this. I'm just
you're having a go at a referee because they're given a decision that isn't a decision. You know, the one I remember about you, Anthony, the most is that one. We're all stood at Reading and you went. You went, but we all did. And after the game, you came out and you were fine. It was fine. I admire that. So as we said, the BA, they'll be joining in with the boycott from Friday, and hopefully it'll make some help. Hopefully it'll help. Karen, just before we go on, says, I don't understand. No, we've done that one. Sang says it's not a tech issue; it's a people issue. We cannot police people's thoughts, even the idiots. The fact that they can say they're garbage allows us to freely say our thoughts is the price we pay. And then Sang says we scream at the referee because the decisions are bad, not for any other reason. Exactly right. That's what we do. And
to be fair, I scream at the referee even if the decision is right.
That's also true. And Karen said the abusers led to players coming off social media. So sad that you can't have interaction with fans and hear the good stuff. Absolutely. Right, let's get to the game on Sunday. It was an important game. I think we'll all agree. We required 3 points. Let's start with the team because there was one massive surprise in there. And Anthony, I'm going to start with you on this one. No Jackie. Was that the surprise for you?
Yes, it was. Yes. If you look at my lineup league, Jackie was the only one that wasn't there in my selection. So it was a surprise, especially Zellem's been normally the one that's gone on the bench. I'm not sure if that was because maybe she was suffering from a bit of fitness when she had got COVID. So that may have played a part then back then. But no, it did surprise me. But then Casey obviously has her reasons, as you always do. I'm trying to think who she would have came and for Siggy was the surprise one for me.
Yeah,
but she obviously had her reason, and we see the game. It worked out well. Just took her goal well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Fiona. In that starting lineup, there's now a name that's now started to become a bit of an ever-present in Lucy Staniforth. At the beginning of the season, she didn't start because she was suspended from she had a suspension carried over from Birmingham. She was then injured, and then she was playing bit-part games. But since the beginning of the year, the calendar year, she started games. And I said that through our injury crisis, one player might get into the team and then it'll be impossible for that player to be dropped. Would you say that's now Lucy Staniforth?
I would say so, yeah. She has been one of the few positives in our bad run of games. Yeah, she's not perfect and it's not every single game, but I think she has been in very good form recently. She's shown that she's willing to run for the team, being involved in going forward, but also tracking back a bit, which is good to see, covering the pitch very well, and being involved in and around the box, involved in goals, scoring herself. I think she has shown kind of why we got her. I know we got her on a free, but why we still went out to try and sign her. I think she's been. Jake will probably love me for saying it. She's probably been one of our few shining lights in 2021. And I think it was a surprise to see her playing with Katie and not her playing with Jackie against the likes of Spurs. But I think she's, especially on Sunday, but I think she's now making herself almost undroppable. Now, we know Casey does like to just drop players, like she dropped Jackie for Sunday, but I think Lucy is probably what, if I was coming up with my starting 11, she would be one of the first ones on there for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Anthony, staying on Lucy.
Yeah.
How impressed have you been with her when she's been playing full matches?
Oh yeah, I've been with Lucy. I've been fully impressed. You got to remember before Hayley Ladd had her injury, some people would agree that Hayley Ladd would have been one of the first names on the team list. And the last few weeks, sadly, before Hayley got injured, Lucy's been keeping her on the bench, I feel, and that shows you the depth that we have got in that position, that we can have people like Ladd on the bench and Jackie and still cope with and get what we need to win the game. So it's great competition. I feel that maybe like last year or something, you would have thought, like, if Hayley Ladd got injured, you'd have been like, or we're gonna, we might struggle, like, because I always felt like we were weaker in defence when Hayley Ladd wasn't in the squad. But now we got Lucy. I feel like she's just as important and stops just as many goals as Hayley did.
Yeah, just going to go through a couple of the comments. John Fry said, think Jackie was rested to give Lucy game time. Karen says, apparently Jackie had a minor knee injury playing for Holland. In the picture she was coming on for us, so you can see she has a bit of strapping at the side of her knee. Deb says, Lucy made herself a first choice. Sang, you guys looked much more aggressive than you have in ages, and I mean ages. Sean, good evening. Lucy was very good technically. Evening, Vincent. And John says, to me, Sunday was our best 90 minutes performance of all season. We went for the whole game. First time this season, was proud of the team. Fiona, let's talk about that point. Because in the watch along, most people were saying it was a very, very good performance. Would you go as far to say it was our best 90 minutes of the season?
I think probably, yeah. I think the only other game that you'd maybe say for the full 90 was Bristol, which we won comfortably. I think both cases it's like looking at the opposition in front of us. Spurs didn't really challenge us too much, but we didn't take our foot off the pedal kind of thing. We might not have been scoring constantly, but we looked comfortable in possession, which isn't something we've done too much of this season. We had a bit of good game management, making sure that we controlled the game all the way to the last minute. In the past, we've had a good first half or second half, whichever way around it needed to be. We've had both instances. But yeah, I would agree with John and say it was a one of the best, if not the best, full 90 minutes, because that's not something we've done too often.
Yeah. Deborah's put in the comments, yeah, we were good, but Spurs were awful. They've never recovered from losing the Queen, Alex Morgan. Anthony, let's talk about Spurs. How unimpressed were you with them? Were you like, are they even going to try for this, or do they just turn up hoping to get away with the point?
It's a hard one with Spurs. Whenever Spurs seem to rock up, whether they're home or away, obviously it was a bit tougher at Hive this season. But what I found is normally we put in a performance against Spurs. Like I said in the fan cams the other day, I was a bit disappointed with what they brought. I thought in an attacking sense, they would have brought more. They would have tested Mary more. Other than that free kick, I can't really remember if there was any other meaningful chances other than that. So they're not very strong defensively in the middle. So that didn't surprise me. It didn't surprise me that we did score 4 goals. The only disappointing thing is we seem to get to 3 or 4 goals, and especially the second half, we score a good few in the first half, and then after about 60 minutes, we we stopped scoring, which is the only disappointing when you think maybe goal difference wise, although that won't affect us now, but it could have been different if we hadn't had that bad sticky period a month ago when we unfortunately lost to Arsenal City.
Yeah. John says Spurs were boring from minute one. What I forgot about during the game was that Mary was playing for most of it because you never saw her. And even when you did call her into action, she was in the shade and you couldn't see it because of the kit she was wearing. And the second thing about Spurs for me is that someone says it, Sang says it, they're a team with nothing to play for, safe and relaxed. But they still have something to play for. They've got pride and everything else. Sang does say their free kick, though. Wow. Yeah. And John answers that very quickly with a deflect. It was deflected, Sang. Deborah then makes the point that Ashley Neville had a poor game as well. And apparently she's never won the treble. Let's talk about the game itself. I think it was a good game of football. But Leah was on the bench. Leah's come back from injury. I personally wasn't expecting her to come back this season. I thought it would be a bit of a rush. Fiona, how important could Leah be in our last two games of the season? She came on for a good half an hour on Sunday. How important will she be for Bristol and then Leicester in the cup game?
I don't know if necessarily for the Bristol game, but the game against Everton, we saw what she did last season. The last game with fans, she was the player that match. She was the one that was creating chances. The defenders couldn't cope with her. So I think she'd be very important for that match, and I think as well in the FA Cup, you want somebody like her playing every game if you could. Cup game is it's a one-off, so you always need to be prepared for the opposition. But I think she'll be very important there as well. I think for this game against Spurs and for the Bristol game, even if she doesn't start, having her on the bench has an impact on the players in the squad, whether they're starting on the bench as well, knowing that she's available, knowing that she can come on. So, you've got to put in a good performance, because if she's going to come in, she might come in and replace you, or, gives you a bit of confidence that, if things don't necessarily work first or second try, you've always got her to kind of come on and change things. And I think that gives you a bit of confidence. You don't need to worry too much if you mess up on a good chance. She's there. So I think overall she's a very important member of the squad, whether or not she's starting or whether she comes off the bench.
Yeah, and I agree. I was happy to see Leah back. I don't think she'll start on Sunday. I think she'll be on the bench again. But then again, as someone you said before, it's Casey. Who knows what's going to happen? Sang has said in the comments, pride, Spurs, same sentence. It's a good point. John Fry, my only downside was not seeing Russo come on for a few minutes. Sang said, I just hope she's fully okay. It will be criminal to risk Miss Goldson's healthy for the end of the season games. I agree. John Fry definitely need Leah back running at defenders, and Sang agrees about the Leslie Russo bit. On Sunday, the front three was Kristen Press, Jess, and Kirsty Hansen. Anthony, those three, the movement, they weren't sticking to positions, they were moving all over the place. Do you think that caused more problems to the Spurs defence because we didn't have a static number 9?
Yes, I do. If you're moving all over the place, then the defence don't know if they're coming or going. If one moment you've got press on one side, and it creates space and gaps, I feel, as well, because you're trying to keep your defence line. So it definitely gives them more to think about. And so I reckon it's harder if people are moving. Then it's harder than if people are static. So I thought it worked well, them moving about. I was happy with that.
Yeah. Fiona, staying on with the Christen Press, you were the one who broke the Christen Press and Tobin Heath news on this very podcast. So you have a bit of a soft spot for Christen and Tobin. And Deborah said it in the comments. Christen Press's best performance for us showed us her football intelligence. Obviously, there is a lot of talk going on about her contracts and next season and whatever else. But how impressed have you been with Christen since? Well, I would say that again this calendar year.
I think I've been more impressed. I think she's taken a bit of time to get used to the WSL, but more than that, I think she's needed time to get used to the other players in the squad, knowing kind of how they prefer to play or what kind of passes they like to play to her. I think the last game she was great. We saw her versatility, like Anthony was saying, swapping sides, that kind of thing. Playing as the 9, playing on the wing. You don't know what to do as a defender. But I also think on the left, she's now got a decent partnership with Honor going. I think we saw that as well in the game against Burnley. You can argue Burnley aren't the greatest, but the two of them were playing very well together. They seem to have clicked, and I think it's good to see Christen play on the left. I don't think she'll be there for very long. When Leah's back, you'd want Leah on the left and maybe play Christen elsewhere. But I think something seems to have clicked with her and the rest of the squad. And I think we're now starting to see what she can do for us. Obviously, we'd like her to get a few more goals for United. But yeah, I think there's definitely been a change.
Just before we go on to Anthony, I'm just going to go through some of the comments. Didn't expect to see Leah. Russo is being managed as she had a setback partway through her recovery, so we need managing more. And Sang makes the point that Anthony did. We had width, we had good movement, and we had speed on Sunday. Deborah says it was Christen's, even I'm doing Christen's best performance, showed her football intelligence. Best presses played all season. The movement was outstanding. Sang says, and it's the style of play that LJ cannot master yet, and that's a key word there for me, yet. And Sean says he will be gutted if I don't see Tobin and Christen play live for us. I think we all will. Just before I go over to Anthony, Fiona, yes or no answer. Are they going to stay? Are they both going to stay with us next season?
I so want to say yes. I really do. But I think there's just so much involved in that decision. Will Tobin recover from her injury very well? If they don't play for us, where would they play? Because I can't see them go to race. There's just so much involved. We always have this discussion on the watch-alongs. It's just, I hope so. I really hope so that we could all see them playing at LSV.
Yeah. Just before I go to Anthony, Karen says yes, they're staying, and so does John Fry. Anthony, do you think they're going to stay?
Well, I hope so. I hope what the players have been telling them are, hopefully they'll be like, oh, you have to stay. Oh, you need to meet the crowd. Oh, you'll love them. The fans are the best. And hopefully stuff like that they'll want to experience themselves. Also, hopefully, obviously they've not been able to get out so much in Manchester or a bit further, so maybe they would find that when as things are opening to look at this England a bit more, like Manchester or even the Lake District. So I'm going to be positive and say yes.
Good. I see. I like that. And Deborah goes to the point that she's made many times. if, as I've asked many times, if not us, who? Deborah then makes the point, I think if we'd got Champions League, it'd be certain. Now, not so certain. Sang says, I hope so for your sakes, in the Darth Vader voice. Ian says, gut feeling is no, hoping it's a yes, but not for the whole season if they go back to the NWSL. And Karen says, never going to racing. It's interesting. I want them to stay. I think we all want them to stay. And I think Casey said they've not really held formal discussions yet. I think they've kind of probably spoken quietly about it. Going back to one of the points in the comments before about Sunday, Leslie Russo, she was named on the bench. She's obviously had a long layoff with a torn hamstring, and she, as Deborah said, she had a setback when she was coming back. Anthony, were you surprised she didn't come on for 10 minutes or so?
No, I think Casey was being sensible. You look at Leah, yeah, she got half an hour, but in her recovery, she didn't really have a setback, and she's obviously a bit further forward. I think we were 4-0 up at the time. I think you want them to be right, and her having another week's of training won't harm her with fitness in that, and make sure she is ready. So I wasn't surprised, and I think it was sensible. But I do think this week we will see her for 20, maybe half hour. But no, to your answer, no, I just think Casey was being sensible.
Yeah. I was surprised. I'm not going to say that. I was surprised. I thought it was the perfect opportunity to bring her on for 10 minutes, but obviously Casey's the manager, and I'm not going to argue with that. John Neville says, Heath and Press, we want you to stay. I think we need to get that trending, actually, on Twitter.
We'll sing them a song on Twitter.
Yeah, let's get it done. And Sang, I agree with Anthony. I think Coach Stoney was erring on the side of caution. Fiona, surprising to you, or do you agree with Anthony?
Maybe a bit surprising that she didn't get 10, 15 minutes. I think for Leah, we need to get minutes in her before the Everton game, and I think the same would be true for Russo. But I think there's less urgency. Let's manage her. Let's ease her in. We've got Jess. We've got Kristen, who have been playing recently in reasonable form or good form. So I think, ease Russo in. We want to make sure that when she comes back, she's back healthy and she's back for the long term. No reoccurrence of any niggles or any further setbacks. I expect she would get 10, 15 minutes against Bristol when we've hopefully got a comfortable lead. I suppose it depends on the pitch. I think that was mentioned in the watch long, just got to be careful that we don't send her onto a dodgy pitch which could get her injured again, which is something Casey can then monitor during the game, I suppose.
Deborah makes that exact point. The only reason Casey might not play Russo is if the pitch in Bristol is dodgy, and Karen then makes the point. Let's remember how long Russo's been out, needs easing back in completely. Overall, were you both satisfied with the performance on Sunday?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. And what I liked as well, even though poor Carrie Jones had to be consoled by Casey, I loved it how she was so upset that she gave that free kick away, and she'll learn. She's only young, and Casey would have had words with her, but I love that passion from her. Like that's what you want at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Carrie's still young; she's still learning, and it's anyone could have given that foul away. Anyone. I think the only I was overall satisfied with the performance. I think the only thing that upset most of us was the conceding of the goal. I don't think Spurs probably did anything to do it. Right, let's look ahead to Sunday against Bristol. Big game, penultimate game in the season. I can't believe the season's almost done with. Fiona, what kind of game are you expecting?
I'm hoping for a strong performance from United and a not so strong performance from Bristol. No slip ups like we might have had in the past, but I think we've shown this season that we can comfortably beat them. This is our first time playing away to them. Don't know if that'll have any impact. Hopefully not. But this is Matt Beard's side. We beat West Ham when he was in charge there. It was with a decent number of goals. So I'm hoping for the same. I'm hoping for a strong performance from everybody. Another solid team performance for full 90 minutes, building on what we did on Sunday. But Bristol, they need some points. Will they be able to come out fighting against United? It is a question, I suppose.
Yeah, just going to go through some points. Vincent says it's been long since we've had a Russo day. Yeah, it's been too long. John Neville says loved how annoyed Mary was as well after the conceding of the goal. Sang talking about Bristol, we must take them deadly seriously. And Deborah kind of makes that same point. Bristol are desperate for points. We can't underestimate them. Karen says about the Tobin and Christian staying, I think Manchester United social media people are trying to persuade with all the last 3 or 4 posts about press.
You mean Shane? Shane's admin.
Yeah. Sang says they are fighting for their lives. John Fry says, I think this is going to be a hard game for us. Karen wants 2 wins in a row. I agree. John, our biggest game of our season so far, my favourite saying, yeah, it is going to be. And about 20 minutes for Russo. If we're up, no need to rush her or re-injure herself. As we were recording this, Arsenal are playing their game in hand. And 3rd place could be out of our hands by Sunday anyway, potentially. Anthony, all you wanting on Sunday is a win? Is that all you want? You're not worried about performance. You just want the points.
Well, you always take the points regarding the performance. I couldn't care if Bristol City bombarded our goal for 93 minutes and then we scored a penalty. You always take the win over the performance. Yes, you do want the performance to be there, but no, it's always points over performance for me personally. No one remembers, oh yeah, they lost 1-0, but they were the better team. No one remembers the losers, do they? No. Going back to Bristol, though, I agree with people in the comments. Bristol City are obviously one of the teams down there that are desperate for points, and I think they'll be physical. I think we know what their sort of game plan will be. It'll be to try and catch our defence out, which at times in the season we have been found wanting, and they'll be praying they get a couple of chances like that where Ebony can run through, and we know what Ebony can do. We saw it at LSV last year when that was a prime example. It was a great performance, but we didn't stick the ball in the net and we lost 1-0.
Yeah, and just going to come on to some of those points now. Ian has said in the comments, Villa are currently leading Birmingham, so that will make Bristol even more dangerous. They know they'll need something from the game. Vincent goes the other way. He says he thinks it's going to be a very easy game. Deborah says 93 minutes and deflection off Jackie's backside for the win. Done, sold. John Fry says points first, performance second, same as Anthony. And Sang's watching the game as well. Currently, it's 0-0 in the Arsenal game against West Ham, and Vicky Jeps is doing the women's stuff tonight on Sky, so I'm going to change the channel as soon as we can on that. John Fry makes the point, we need to do what we did on Sunday, score early. Fiona, how important is the first goal going to be on Sunday?
I think it will be very important, because that then will mean Bristol has to attack a bit more, to create some chances. They need a point at least. 3 points they would ideally love. But I think if we get the first goal, that means that will open up space for our attack. But I also think if they get the first goal, are they then just going to form two banks of 5 players in front of their goalie? And we're never going to be able to break that down, because we haven't been able to do it in the past. That's maybe when Leah or Kristen or somebody with a bit of experience can maybe help. But I think that first goal would be very important. I think as well for our confidence. We've lost 1-0 to them before. If they go 1-0 up, are our players going to suddenly, don't necessarily shrink, but lose a bit of confidence? We've been in that position before, not been able to turn it around. I don't think it'd impact the likes of Kristen, because she wasn't around for that game. But players that were playing in that loss, I think that could then end up playing in the back of their mind. So I think, the first goal is very important. A good performance is important going forward, but I think that first goal, that could if we don't score it, that could impact the rest of the season, I think. I know there's not many games left. Those 2 games I think would be impacted if we don't get the first.
Yeah. Anthony, you mentioned when you were talking about the Bristol game about Ebony and her speed. Can you see Amy not playing and Maria starting to give a bit of more speed in the defence?
That is an option, obviously, but I don't think that will happen. Casey doesn't like changing much of the team. I just think she will tell them not to risk being so high. Maybe she'll have Amy drop back a little bit more, so that if Millie does miss, say, the ball coming out and it goes over her head, then Amy can be there to mop it up.
Deborah in the comments has said, we've never kept a clean sheet against them. And John Fry says, set pieces might be needed if Bristol City score first. One disappointment for me for this season has been our set pieces. Lucy Staniforth, her corner taking, I think he's spot on. It goes where we need it to go. But free kicks from outside the area have been pretty poor this season. Fiona, can you, because usually we're being deadly from outside of the box on some set pieces, and whereas our corner taking has been abysmal, and now it seems to have shifted. What do you think of our current set pieces? Are you happy with them? Do you think stuff needs to be done?
I think we just try and be too fancy with our free kick. Try and do a routine every single time. And I think what's working with our corners is we've just gone back to basics. Get the ball near the goal, not necessarily too close, because you don't want the keeper being able to come out for it, but we've got to play on the keeper, get the ball into the box, and somebody will get on the end of it. Keeping it, basic, simple. But we've been trying to do fancy routines. I always remember in the Burnley game, we were trying to get Honor involved in a routine, but she wasn't sure about it. if a player's not sure about it, don't do the routine. Do something different. We often say just stick it in the box. It hasn't been happening too much. I think Jake was getting quite frustrated on Sunday with our set pieces because when it works, it's great, but it hasn't been working and we haven't been changing it. So I think if we do a routine every now and again, yeah, keep the defense guessing. But sometimes you just need to stick it in the box, get it on Millie's head or Maria if she's playing, or Jess. She's strong. She can get her head on it if it goes into the box, and just try and just do some things that are a bit more simpler. I'm hoping we don't need set pieces, like John has said, against Bristol. Hopefully we should be comfortable. But yeah, it's something that it's not worked very well all season, and I think it's hasn't really changed at any point either. Something to work on in pre-season for next season.
Yeah. Deborah's going back. She's only played them twice, lost 1-0 at LSV in the season before last, and we beat them 6-1 this season. Sang says, set piece have been bad for you guys, both when attacking and when defending. Yeah. Karen says, our free kicks were odd on Sunday. Deborah says they were awful, weren't they? John was going to ask the question, why are players mucking about in set pieces? That's Katie's area for shots early in the season. Can't understand it. And Deborah says, just put the bloody ball in. There was one moment, and just going back to the game on Sunday against Tottenham, there was one moment where we got a free kick and Katie was arguing with the ref, and Katie got herself a booking for it. Now, Katie's Ellum a few seasons ago would have put that in the top corner. But for some reason, they dillied and dallied around the free kick. Anthony, you play football, you watch a lot of football. Do you think we just need to go back to...
I do use the term play loosely.
Well, do you think we need to go back to basics on set pieces?
Yeah, like everyone said, it's all right doing a routine every so often, but if you've got a standing free kick from 20, 25 yards out, just take it direct. If it's in the top corner, you only have to look at the Tottenham goal. They had that free kick. It was a great free kick, and it went in. What I was going to say is the routine they did against Tottenham, where they kept pretending they were going to go and kick it in. It reminded me of when I'm going to feed. I've got some food for my cat or dog, and I go, "Here you go, no," and then you finally give it to them. So
yeah,
no, you basically football's a simple game. If you're wise and use it wisely. I'm not. If you keep doing routines, then they're going to think, oh, well, what routine they're going to do? A routine's meant to be a surprise element, catch them off guard, and doing what we do, they think, oh, what routine they're going to do this time, and they're more likely to be on the ball. Whereas if you did it once every so often, they might switch off and then you get your chance. Whereas doing it all the time, they're like, oh, well, they're expecting it, aren't they? So they're more switched on, like this could happen, that could happen. So, yeah, back to basics, I think.
Yeah. Vincent says, even our throw-ins have been poor this season. John Neville says, remember the London Bees goal at LSV? I certainly do. And John Fry just very eloquently says, yeah, stop mucking about and shoot. That's it. That's what we need to do. We obviously, and Sang said, you have talented free kick takers. They should all have a go. I think one of the things that annoys me is that you have Katie and Lucy standing around the ball, and we all know Katie's going to take it. Just for a change, let Lucy have a go. What's the worst she's going to do? Miss. Anyway. Sunday, both expect 3 points?
Yeah.
Yeah. A comfortable 3 points, or is it going to be a 93rd minute winner?
I don't think it won't be a 93rd minute winner, but I don't think it'll be as comfortable as people expect. I don't think it will be a goal scoring fest. I think we might win by a couple of goals.
Okay.
But it won't be 4s and 5s like I think some people might think. Like Casey says, it all depends on the pitch as well. If they're used to Lee, aren't they playing on a nice surface, big surface? So
yeah. Fiona, before I come to you, there's a couple of points. Sang, a professional 3 points, or else it'll be the worst game you'll experience. I disagree with that. We were all at LSV January 2020, where we lost to Bristol, and we were there live, and that was the worst experience. And John says, can he say Bristol United 10, Bristol 0? You can say it. Fiona, I want to go on to this point with you, because John Neville says 2-0 on penalties instead of Katie now as well. Katie's been our set piece penalty taker since the beginning. She swapped with Alex every now and again, but it's been predominantly Katie. And now Katie's starting the game, and now Tooney's taking over on penalties. Is that surprising you?
A little bit, but I think we've seen Tooney take a few penalties in the past. She seems quite comfortable taking them as well. So I don't know, maybe that's kind of playing in there. You never know, maybe she's trying to maintain her overall top goal scorer for United Women lead. Maybe that's playing into it a little bit. I wonder if it's Katie as well. I can't remember where she was when Tooney was playing. When Tooney was taking the penalty, was Katie on the edge of the box, or was Katie dropping back to be doing a bit of defensive cover? I don't know. I'd have to go watch the game back.
If memory serves me correctly, I think she was on the D.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a strange one, but I think Tooney's still doing a good enough job, and I imagine it'd be a bit like the men. If Tooney misses one, maybe it'll go back to Katie until Katie misses one, then it'll go back to Tooney or to somebody else. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about it at the moment.
Deborah says the reason we lost to Bristol at LSV when we were all there was that her brother Jonathan turned up. This is done. And then Sang wants to know the reason why. But Deborah then goes on to say about the Tooney taking penalties, assume it's because Tooney took them when Katie wasn't playing, so she stayed in the role. John Fry has said he's going to say it's going to be 6-1. So a win's a win. And Deborah explains that Jonathan turned up, and it was the only game he went to, hence it was his fault. And Tooney has the confidence in game right now, and Deborah wants Jackie on penalties. And we're all nodding. Every one of us is nodding. I think we all just want her to score a goal, a goal that's acknowledged, not a penalty in a shootout, a goal that's acknowledged. Anthony, let's have a little quick chat about Tooney. I think for player of the season, there's probably 3 or 4 names are in with a shout. But how strong of a candidate is Tooney for player of the year?
Yeah, she's a very strong candidate, I think. She's been consistently in the side. So she's been lucky she's not had any injuries or that. So she's not had any bad luck on that side. But you watch her grow from last year to this year, and she scored some crucial goals, and she even comes up with a few assists. I think the experience is definitely helping, and being with the England camp as well can only be good for being around all them other players. She learned from them just as much as she learns from the likes of Katie and that. I know Katie's not been in the England squad much, but you learn from the experience like Amy Turner and that, or Lucy Stansforth, who's been there a bit longer and that. So, no, I've been impressed with Tooney this year. I know that some people are a bit hit and miss with Tooney, but no, I've been impressed with Tooney this season.
Yeah, I'll come on to you in a minute about it, Fiona. Sang asked the question, what? Jackie hasn't scored for us yet. She scored in a penalty shootout in the Conti Cup against City. She scored in pre-season, but those don't count. Deborah says player of the year would have been different as some players remained fit all season.
Yeah.
John Fry says she's going to be third or fourth for me. Yeah. And Deborah says no goal for Jackie, scored in the shootout against City, but no proper goal. Fiona Tooney, she's played different positions this year. She's played number 10. She's played a little bit deeper in midfield sometimes, but she's also played on the wing. Do you think we know her? We've seen her in her best position yet, and B, is she up there for player of the year in your opinion?
I think for me, Tooney's best position is as 10. Running forward, trying to get in the box. I think that's kind of, we saw her goal against Arsenal. Being up there and around the box is where she's probably most impactful. I think we've seen her develop from last season as well. She's getting more minutes this season, but I think we're seeing her getting a bit more involved in the action rather than, I don't know, like sometimes last season she seemed to just be running for running's sake, whereas now it seems she's learned from the players in the squad, but from experience as well, like what's a good position to be in, where could I have an impact, that kind of thing. There's still stuff to work on with Tooney. Her passing sometimes hasn't been great, but I think her stats show that she can have an impact on the result, even if sometimes she gets a bit of luck her way. Like Anthony said, she's not had any major injuries, but she's also had a bit of luck with some of her shots and that kind of thing, which it is a good thing. Sometimes you need a bit of luck in football. We've not had much of it, so it's nice that Tooney's had some at least. I don't know if I'd say player of the season. I think there's a few other people that would be in there for me based on performance. But if we were going by impact and looking at the stats, the goals and assists and the chances created, I think she would definitely be in the final list of 4 or 5 to vote on that kind of thing.
Yeah, John Fry says Tooney's definitely a number 10. Right, I'm going to put you on the spot then. So, Anthony, you've something in time. Who's your player of the season then?
Oh, like Deborah said, it would have been so different without injuries. I think if we hadn't had an injury, I think Tobin would have only got better.
Yeah,
it's so hard though, because I think, and she doesn't really get credit because she doesn't score goals and that, but I think Una's been brilliant this season.
Yeah,
we haven't talked about her much, so potentially she could be in the list. So it is a hard one because, like I said, if we hadn't had the injuries, we'd be going, is it Leah or Tobin or Russo? But because they've been a bit stop-start, you would say Tooney's probably been the most consistent with goals and that. But no, it is a hard one. or I'm between two players. It's between Tooney and Una. I think Una's come to a new country and she's been brilliant. Her performances, I can't remember a bad performance from Una. So
Fiona, are you going to go the other one?
I'm going Jackie.
Yeah.
You know, if she tops it off with a goal against Bristol or Everton, that would be great. But I think for me, it has to be Jackie because she just seems like a completely different player to last season. Yeah, she's not necessarily got involved in the goals, but I think she's put in some great performances. And obviously, Jake would call her his queen. So, I think that obviously impacts how people vote as well.
Yeah.
Good shout there, Fiona.
Yeah. Just so you can see, Karen, Jackie and Ona as player of the season for me. John Fry, Ona. Deborah, Honor Battles Local Army. Karen, Jackie or Honor for player of the year. If Tobin was still playing, I would say Tobin. Actually, you know what, John? I am surprised you haven't said Amy T. And I think Amy T's in with a shout as well, because I think she's played well as well. Sang says, although a shortened season, I would have said Leah again. Yeah. Deborah says, don't forget, everyone, the Barmy Army Player of the Year pods will be open after the final game of the season. And Karen says, Honor or Jackie, Tobin if they were still playing. For me, I'm absolutely drawn down the middle. I can't. It'll be a flip of the coin between Honor and Jackie completely. I think Honor has come in, as Anthony said, into a new country, and she's impressed us from the very first game against Chelsea, and Jackie as well from the Chelsea game. Her performances have been brilliant, and for me, you look at the way Jackie played at Old Trafford, the way she played the balls through. So for me, it's I'm going to sit on the fence, and I would say Tobin as well if she was still playing. And Ian as well. He's just said Honor or Jackie, can't decide which. Right. I'd like to thank you both for joining me. So thanks, guys. And thanks for everyone watching, putting your comments in. Hit the like button on the channel. Deborah's back next week. I think Ian is booked on. I don't know who else it's with. So thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.